Hello and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am coming in a little hot and on the eve of Thanksgiving, no less, but I am going to leave you guys alone for the rest of the week. So let's celebrate there. But I wanted to talk for a second about something that I see happening on social media. And I know it might seem like I always jump down the throat of the subject of today's video, but that's not the case. I don't just jump down their throat. Only when I see things that I feel are triggering, and I want to get my little 2 cents in there because I feel like it's necessary. You saw the title. Sometimes preference is prejudice. And it's important to note when that's the case and then to shut your mouth. So I am talking about dating preferences. The reason why I'm talking about it is because it is very popular on TikTok, the app I had to snatch off of my phone like it was on fire because of the fact that I could not stop watching it. But I was on TikTok and I saw this, and of course, I'm not going to play it here, partly because I don't want to play it because I go back and watch my videos and I want to watch it again, but also because I believe the song would be copyrighted. But basically, you see the text there on the screen. It says, people think just because I'm Black, I like Black women. And then there's a vocal where the singer says, I never said that. And, the guy in the video, he verbalizes that. He says, I never said that. Now, this is a couple weeks ago, but I still get, and I left a comment on this video a couple weeks ago, but I still get like favorites. I still get people commenting under it. Before I started just blocking people who would say certain things so I don't see like what they say on my comment, I would get, people wanting to start conversations with me about my comment on this TikTok, which my comment was this. I had seen stuff like this before. I see, young men. There was one where a guy was like, I'd rather date bleach, and another young Black man, I'd rather date bleach than date a Black woman. Drink bleach, sorry, than date a Black woman. I see stuff like that. I normally just ignore it because it's been around for a while, and I'll talk about that. But this particular time, I said, I got time today. I'm tired. I got time today. And I just wrote on his TikTok, I said, we were hoping that you wouldn't want us. Thank you so much for the favor. And a guy came underneath there and he was like, how is him just stating his preference a problem for you? Please explain. And I wrote to him, no, not gonna. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Take care. But I wanted to discuss that today. Why stating your preference if you don't get it? And if you know somebody that doesn't get it, I want you to send them this video the next time they say something incredibly ignorant. I'm not just going to talk about, what young Black men might say about Black women on TikTok. I'm not just going to talk about that. I've seen some very problematic behavior across the board. But I want you to send this to them if they don't get it or if you don't get it. Why sometimes stating your preference is just prejudice in action, and you don't have to do it. You really shouldn't. So the first thing I want to point out in this very TikTok is the look on this man's face. If I stripped the text off and I was just looking at his face, I would not look at him and say he appears to be happy. He appears to be sad. I would not say he appears to be excited. I would say he appears to be disgusted. So the first thing that I'm going to point out is when stating a preference and the very idea of what you are speaking about, of what you are saying that you like or don't like, is something that comes from a feeling of disgust. When that feeling of disgust is tied to a group of people, that's prejudice. And then it becomes a problem. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the very act of creating something like this in the first place. So for me, whenever I'm going to create content, it has to be something that either I feel like, oh, okay, I really, really want to speak up about this for a couple reasons. Either it made me really happy, it made me really excited, or it made me really sad and I want to say something about it. but I never just make something for no reason. I never just like fire something off just to be doing something, right? This young man, you can tell that the very idea of him having to partner with a Black woman is something that just enrages him. And while there are so many layers to unpack when it comes to that, I want to talk about the fact that you were so enraged by this suggestion that you date women who share your same skin tone, that you had to create content about it. I would examine that. I would examine that rage, and I would say that that rage comes from prejudice. Okay. And in that case, if you're going to create content that is born out of rage and you're going to use that rage to campaign against an entire race of women, that's when you can keep a comment like that to yourself. That's when it's a problem. The last thing I'm going to say about this is he is not the only person making content like this. I also saw this TikTok, and yes, the star of this TikTok is an Asian American man. However, he is not the one that was saying the problematic, that was providing the problematic language. It was not him. He actually was using Hinge's new audio feature where people can upload their voice saying something. And he was playing the audio of a young Black woman, biracial woman. She did say that she was mixed, talking about how much she loves white men, and then having a verbal and vocal audiogasm. It is, I'm going to link the TikTok below because he did not say that people could share it. And I'm kind of iffy about like copyright stuff. Sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat and I'm like, what if somebody sues me for the 17 cents I made on a video using their TikTok? So I know there are laws that would protect me, but I feel like a good lawyer maybe could get around it. So I did go ahead and I'll just link it below. But all the other audios, when people make videos and they use their Hinge audio, whatever, they normally it's normally funny. But she used it was called like a fun fact about me or something. That's the prompt she answered, and she used that time to say, I love white men. I know people might think because I'm Black that I like Black men and Black people, but oh no, I'm actually mixed and I love white chocolate. That's my attempt at an audiogasm. Excuse me. I saw that and I was like, what was the reason? What really was the reason? I'll tell you what the reason is. You're prejudiced. And you have had an experience that you like versus one people think you should like, and you want to let people know that no, not that for me. I want something else. And like I said, it becomes prejudice when it becomes something that could possibly bring someone else down. And I believe we all have preferences. We definitely all have preferences. We all have things we like. But it does become a problem when you stating those things out loud then creates a moment where someone else could be brought down or someone else could be negatively affected by you saying something about them. This young man shared this because there was no need for it. There was no need for this woman to exorbitantly hail her love of white men. We get it. White men are the most preferred on dating apps. Duh. Okay? And I know she probably did this because somewhere out there are probably still white men who think, is she even into white guys? Hey, listen, if he wants to know bad enough, he'll message you. But my whole thing is don't feed into problematic dating policies and procedures by stating your wants and desires and preferences in ways that could be deemed prejudicial. Because when you go out of your way to say things like that, what you're saying is everybody else need not apply. You need not apply, and you need not apply simply on the basis of your race. And that's prejudice. I also want to say, just going back to the video that inspired, the TikTok that inspired me to make this, a couple weeks ago, I took myself on a solo trip up to Disneyland. And I was excited to go because I had not been in years. And it was something that I did a lot when I was a little kid with my family. And I went back by myself. And I always thought I would be so depressed if I had to go to Disney by myself because I was like, oh, I'll see all the cute couples and I'll see all the families. And let me tell you something. The magic of Disney is in the nostalgia for me, is in the memory for me. Because when I went back as an adult, I was like, ooh, it's expensive. Ooh. These crowds. Oh, it's hot. See, I went in October. It was still hot. And I cannot stress enough the crowds. I cannot stress enough. When you go by yourself, you could do single rider lines and rides that take, like, for instance, Splash Mountain. It was a 55-minute wait. It was 10 minutes for me because I went single rider, and you get to like go up all these like private stairways, and they like open up these velvet ropes for you. It's pretty cool for someone like me that doesn't, I don't spend a lot of time in VIP, so that's pretty cool. Also, people, they see you by yourself and they'll like come up to you and be like, would you like a picture? Would you like help? They're very, very nice to you. They're nice to me. And yeah, I feel like there's definitely a experience you can have by yourself that you're not going to have with a family. But the most important one that I picked up on was, I if I was there with a big group of people, when those things started getting to me, like the crowds and the prices and the heat, I might have to stay. No, mommy, we want to ride. Oh, okay. I even called my mom and I apologized to her. I was like, girl, I am so sorry. I had y'all running from ride to ride. We had to ride everything in the park. And she goes, honestly, it was pure hell. She was like, it was terrible. And, I had viewed these experiences through the eyes of a child. And when I first got there, that's how I was looking at it. And by the end of the day, man, I was dead on my feet. I was like, I feel sorry for, it's great. It's a great place to make memories. Yes. But, them babies were screaming and crying, and, folks was hot, and people had their kids dressed up in their full Halloween costumes, and the hair was like matted to the side of the face. And I was like, the things we do for our, that we do for families to create these family moments, they're not necessarily always super enjoyable. But we do them to feed into this ideology, that it's supposed to be a great time, supposed to be the most wonderful time. And I was happy to have experienced it, but I was also happy to be able to go whenever I wanted to. But while I was there, I did see a lot of families. I saw a lot of couples. I was in Disneyland, so I was in Anaheim. I was in California. And one thing, that I learned about California is it is predominantly Hispanic. There's mostly Hispanic people there. And when I was at Disney, that was no different. The majority of people that I saw that day, majority of people were Hispanic people. And most of them were, families that had a mom and a dad. And most of them were the same race. Most of them were the same race. When I saw white people, for the most, they were there. And I just thought about how young Black women grow up in a world where they have to navigate messaging like this TikTok. They don't know when they're going to see it, when it's going to pop up, when someone that looks like them is going to feel the need to make some sweeping statement declaring them not good enough. And young Hispanic girls don't grow up with that. I never see, and if that's not true, please let me know in the comments below, but I never see little Latino guys making TikToks about how I don't date Latina, I don't do that, I don't see it enough to where it's something that I expect when I'm on a social media platform. This guy is not the first guy. I've seen this stuff. I see it.
So I just want to pause here for a moment and go back to the young girl that was the subject of the Hinge, the TikTok that was made about her Hinge profile. And I want to say that, men and women can do this to each other. I was on Twitter the other day, and this woman was talking about how she doesn't want dark-skinned children, and she doesn't want, people can say different hurtful things that just sort of put their internalized colorism and their internalized, misogynoir and their internalized racism. They just put those things on display and they disguise that as a preference. When we talk about the young lady from Hinge, honestly, feel what you want to feel, but also recognize in stating what you're stating that you're contributing to worshiping a group of people who really don't need any more worship. As I showed before, there have been tons of studies done about how white men are the preferred men on dating apps. And that's generally because people tend to, in their unconscious minds, they have a bias towards the ideals that white supremacy has inflicted upon us all. So, same thing with her. Just examine why you are doing that. If that is something that you feel like you need to do, there's nothing wrong with liking something, but the problem becomes when you could possibly cause harm to other people or make other people think like, oh, well, I'm not good enough. And also just as a person who really doesn't have a racial preference, and that's just the truth. I mean, of course I have like some preferences, but when it comes to who I'll allow in my life, um, you really never know what you're blocking when you do something like that. You don't know what you're blocking, and that goes for somebody's race, somebody's height, whatever. You just don't know. So I think that it's in general, it's just wrong to stand on a platform of superficiality and try and pass it off as something that needs to be done, and it needs to be like it never needs to be done. You never need to be superficial. You never need to be racist. You never need to say things that could possibly cause harm to others. You never need to say things that could skew as prejudicial. You don't need to do that. And so yeah, I definitely want to make it clear that like she's not out of she's not out of my line of sight here. I definitely still remember, and I know what she did as well. I do think it's a little bit different, just because I don't usually see Black women making it their entire personality, that they don't date or want to be around Black men. That's normally something that I do mostly see coming from Black men on the internet, and not everyone, of course, but when I see it happen, it's normally a Black man and he's talking about Black women. But I do know that Black women can also be guilty of this. Anybody can, really. So I just want to say that.
But a lot of times I just don't comment on it. And a lot of times I don't comment on it because it was happening when I was young. And I see it happening now, and I'm like, dang, a baby could have run across this. A little 13-year-old baby. She starts asking, well, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with dating a Black woman? And then this whole narrative starts unfolding in her head. This whole perspective of the way that she sees herself, the way that she sees the world. And I thought about the different ways that men who then make liking Black women their whole personality are able to prosper on the internet. And I thought about how you have some type of you have some. Sometimes you have young little white boys dancing and doing their whole thing or whatever, and you'll see in the comments, "Do you like Black girls? Does anyone like Black?" And it's so sad. And I never see that with women of other races. They don't grow up thinking for any reason that the men who speak their language, who share their same phenotype, they don't grow up thinking that those men will reject them naturally. It's a possibility. It's not a possibility. And I feel, like I said, the same thing goes for white women. The same thing goes for Asian women. They naturally have that support from the men in their community. And I know why. We've got all types of issues that affect the Black community in different ways. And unfortunately, I feel like things like colorism and, just we've been hit hard. We've been hit hard in the Black community. And I feel like men, in a lot of ways, they are little, from the time they're little babies, they're little insurgents of the patriarchy. And I feel like a lot of times the patriarchy holds up these negative stereotypes that allow for oppressive systems to continue. And so that's why, you have these young men that feel I need to say, I don't like this. I need to say that I don't like this. So that I can maybe do better, maybe have something else, maybe have another experience for my life. And they don't even realize that by stating out loud and screaming from the top of their lungs that I don't like these women, they're just adding to the oppression. They don't get it. They don't get it. So I'm here to tell you that that's what it is. That's the problem. That's the problem. There's nothing in the world wrong with having a preference. There's nothing in the world wrong with saying, hey, I'm attracted to this. I'm attracted to that. It's a problem when it's prejudice. And you'll recognize it when it's prejudice by asking yourself, well, what is it based on? Why do I have the preference that I have? And why is it important to ask yourself that? Because one day you might be in a mood to make some content. You might put a video saying something like this out on the internet, making this face. And a baby, a little girl who is just growing up and just starting to see herself might see something like this and might see the disgust on your face and might begin to question her self-worth and might have to ask somebody, why would he say that about me? And then all of a sudden, something complex comes in her mind, and she begins to realize that she's going to have to ask permission to be loved. And she's going to have to navigate every single situation wondering, does he like Black women? Am I okay here and here? And that's hell. And when you state something like this and you do something like this, you are contributing to that. And when you contribute to things like that, you're being prejudiced. So examine why you want to make something like that. Examine where it comes from. And if you feel you absolutely need to put that kind of hatred and that kind of negativity out in the world, then you do you, boo. But it will always be problematic. It will never be necessary. And I will sometimes leave a nasty comment about it. And sometimes I'll just block you and hope for the best and hope that the babies don't see it, because they don't deserve that. They deserve to grow up in a world where they never have to question whether or not they're good enough to be loved. All right, great. I hope that everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving tomorrow. And I will see you all next week. Have a good holiday. Bye-bye.